Great.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Career Evangelist podcast. Today, we are joined by two amazing guests, Neill Marshall, the board chair at Health Search Partners, and Kurt Mosley, the practice leader for the same firm. They are experts in the executive search space, focusing on the healthcare industry. So today, if you have ever wondered what really makes or breaks a leader in their first 90 days, then this episode is for you. And with that, we'll bring in our guest. Hello, Kurt. Hello, Neil.
Hi,
Come to the show.
Bola. It's good to be with you today.
It's
Hey,
awesome.
Bola. Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys for joining. So I'll let you guys introduce yourself so that our listeners here, they will get to know you a little bit better.
Sure. And I'll go first if you don't mind. Again, Neill Marshall. I'm the board chair of Health Search Partners. We're an executive search firm, specialize in hospitals and healthcare. Bola, I've been in the industry, the recruiting industry since 1990 and focusing on executives since 1994. Interviewed, I don't know, 10,000 hospital executives, over 600 assignments. And Kurt and I started this 90 to the first 90-day series about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. So we're real excited about talking about it with you today.
I'm excited as well. Thank you.
Great. Bola, again, my name is Kurt Mosley. I'm the association practice leaders for Health Search Partners, and I've been in the industry about 30 years, about four in this industry of executive search. My role with Health Search Partners is in being involved with thought leadership, our podcasts. I'm a national speaker, and also I work with our hospital association. We're very proud five-state hospital association endorse our services uh, due to our track record in those states and our ability to establish relationships. And that's my role. It's good to be here.
Great to have you guys, and I'm sure our listeners here they will find this beneficial because we have high-level executives that will be listening to this episode. Now, let's get into it. Why did you start this 90-day series? Why the focus there? Why is that important in you guys' opinion?
Sure. So, well, we kind of stumbled upon it. We were interviewing a hospital CEO, and he told us about a tactic that he used in his first 90 days of any assignment. And I remember thinking, that's significant. I mean, really significant. As I told you, I've interviewed 10,000 hospital executives. So why have I never heard something like this before? So started questioning why more people that I've interviewed had never mentioned specific tactics that they used in the first 90 days. And so then we started doing research. We've placed healthcare leaders for decades, and what really struck us is how many careers and organizations are made or broken in that first 90 days. We kept hearing from CEOs that their first 90 days weren't just about getting their footing. Um, they set the tone for everything that followed: trust building, cultural alignment, credibility. And so that's why we started the series. It's to capture those stories and give future leaders a playbook. And, frankly, Bola, it's not just healthcare leaders. Any leader can look at some of these tactics and say, hey, I want to try this. And one of the beauties of focusing on tactics versus strategy is that if you find a tactic that you like, you can do it tomorrow. You don't have to build a huge strategic plan, and it doesn't take 6 months to do it. And so what we want is we want CEOs to be intentional about their first 90 days. Decide what tone you're going to set, the symbolic actions that you're going to take, the relationships that you're going to focus on, and the wins that you're going to get early.
So good. I don't know if Kurt want to add anything to that. Otherwise, I want to know about these tactics. I know you said intentionality. Maybe that's the tactics, and you talked about relationship. Maybe we can drill down. What are these tactics that you are talking about, Neil?
Well, Bola, some of those tactics, and it is in the articles that we wrote on the 90 Day series, but one I want to really mention is Jim Decker. He wrote a book entitled The Heart of Healthcare Transformation. And he had two or three jobs in his about 40-year career. And um, every time he changed jobs, he was the new kid on the block, so to speak. But I like what he said when we interviewed him. He talked about the 25-50-25 rule. I said, oh gosh, what is that? I got to know about that. And he said, well, when you start a new role, there'll be 25% of the people at the start that'll be on your side or with you, or if you will, on your side of the fence, because you're the new uh, person involved.
Mhm.
50% of them are going to be on the fence, saying they don't know, haven't met you yet, don't really know you. And he said, and 25% will never really come to your side of looking at things. That doesn't mean you don't pay attention to them, but he said, I concentrate on the 25 and the 50%, and hopefully the 25% will come along. And he said, that doesn't mean I don't take the ideas of the lower 25% or understand it, but I really think that that was a way for me to really establish precedent at the start and just say, how do I get my role done quickly? And everybody wants to in their first 90 days, but he used that tactic, which I really liked. And then another one, Dan Castillo, he was a former CEO of LA County USC Medical Center. And his first role, when he first showed up on the job at day one, he showed up at 2 a.m. And we all know hospitals are open 24/7. And he started at the 2 a.m. shift, and he walked around and met people, introduced himself, and they were surprised. And what he was saying, his actions built trust faster than any newsletter or introductory uh, uh, memo that was sent out about him, because they said, gosh, he cares. He cares about the night shift. He cares about, which is, and a lot of times in the hospital, especially in the emergency department, those times are the busiest times. And I think I really like those two tactics about showing up, number one, understanding that not everybody's going to be on your side. And number two, showing that you care about every employee in all shifts and all the time they work.
Oh, that's so good. So now I'm curious about this 25, 50, 25. For people that are already on your side, I think it's easier, I would think, to manage those relationships. But maybe there are strategies to handle the people that are already with you, the people on the fence, and versus the people that will oppose you. Can you touch on that? How do you bring
Sure.
which of these stakeholders would you say are more important to focus on during the first?
Well, I think my father used this saying to me, and I've used it the rest of my life. He said, it's hard to talk your way out of something you behaved yourself into." And I'll say that again because it's hard to talk your way out of something you behave yourself into. And what my father was trying to tell me, and what Jim Decker was trying to say, is my behavior is more important than what I said, because I was on stage at day one. So the people the 50%, maybe the 25% that weren't on his side, he said my actions are going to speak louder than my words. So he didn't spend a lot of time with it. He showed up early. He walked around. He introduced himself. And first, I think most importantly, he listened more than he talked. And he told me that. He said, that's how I won a lot of those people over. I listened more than I talked.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing, Bola, is that what, what the crux of what he was saying in that was the 25 that embrace you minute one, you don't have to spend a lot of time with them.
Yeah.
The 50% on the fence, that's who you spend the time with. Bring those 50% into the win category. And he said, the 25 are never going to come. And don't waste all of your energy, because a lot of CEOs spend a lot of their energy on that 25. He said, you're never going to get them. Spend your time on that 50% that you can move over.
Wow.
A couple other, Kurt, I know, had a couple of stories. My favorite story is our original one. Richard Parks, he was a CEO of a 22 hospital system in Lubbock, Texas. I know you're a Texas. Well,
Yeah.
you live in Texas. We live in Texas, and everybody knows where Lubbock is. Huge, $7 billion organization. And he said, when I start a new CEO job, Mama stays home and sells the house and gets the kids ready, and I move into the hospital. And I
Wow.
said, Richard, everybody works hard their first 90 days. He said, no, Neill. He said, I move into the hospital. All big hospitals have places for the residents to sleep, right? And he moves in and he lives in the hospital for the first 90 days. And he told a story. He said, my first day in Lubbock, I spent the night. The next morning, the residents were making coffee, and I come out, and like all old people do, I asked them, how did they sleep? And
Uh,
one of them piped up and said, I slept like crap. The mattresses are horrible here. And he said, you know what? I know somebody that can fix that. And he called the VP of facilities and he said, we're going to Costco today, get 5 pickup trucks, and we're picking up 30 mattresses and we're changing out all the mattresses in the resident dorm. And he said that reverberated through the whole organization from the whole time that he was there. Everybody remembered that he was the guy that spent the night in the hospital, and he did it for 90 days. Another Jay Robinson, he's a CEO of hospital in California, Kaiser Hospital, and he went and met all of his 246 leaders.
wow.
But the beauty was he didn't call them into his office. He went and met with them in their offices, and he asked them one important question at the end. He said, "If we're successful in the first 90 days, what will be different?" And then
Wow.
he accrued all that information. Several things bubbled to the top, and then he went and focused on making those changes happen.
So
Um, the, Go ahead.
I was going to say, based on what you just said, during the first 90 days, if there are certain patterns that we can observe, I like the example you gave us about the executive at Lubbock that moved to the hospital. But outside of that, are there some patterns that you've seen that executive display during their first 90 days that you can share with us on this show now?
Yes, Bola, I think what I mentioned earlier, but listening before leading. I mean, before you go in and start to lead, you really have to listen. The best leaders that we've worked with absorb all the information before they do anything first. And there's a pressure on them to do things in the first 90 days to be successful, to get early wins. But they listen before they really lead. And then visibility, whether it's what I talked about, Dan Castillo, whether rounding in the night shifts, eating in the cafeteria, um, as Neill mentioned, going to everybody's office or meeting everybody, but in their office. Presence matters more than policy in those first months. Like I said before, you're on stage every day, and humility, curiosity. I think those are traits. Asking more questions than having answers, and don't. And in a lot of cases, not to talk about what you did before in your last job because you're in a different job. And and again, that really builds deeper trust early. And then as Neill mentioned, early wins, replacing mattresses, refreshing a lobby. In fact, Jim Decker talked about something that wasn't a win at first, but turned into an early win. His first meeting, he bought donuts from, I think Dunkin' Donuts had just opened. He thought, I'll make a big impression. Little did he know they'd used the same bakery for 20 years. And everybody kind of looked at him like, didn't you know? And somebody told him, said, we use this bakery for the last 20 years. And so the next meeting, he had the right donuts. He said, never let a good crisis go to waste. He had the right donuts. And he also found out whose were the favorites and what they liked because the baker helped him. And he turned a early problem into an early win. So these symbolic early wins, I think, are something that a good takeaway from this conversation.
Wow. Good, thank you. So you were featured in one article that says building relationship outside of the organization in the first 90 days, that it's important. I wonder why. Why is that important, and how can leaders do that well?
Well, it's a good question, Bola. In healthcare, the shareholders are really the community, because in a lot of cases, especially the size of the town, either the school district or the hospital are the number one employers in those towns. And success depends on your relationship with the civic leaders, the regulators, the donors, and partners. Uh, Burl Stamp, one of the gentlemen we interviewed, he met with the mayor, the business leaders, and competitors even before looking at the org charts. And he really understood what was going on in the community before he started looking at this relational infrastructure, and it paid off for many years. And get out early, visit churches, civic hubs, clubs, community foundations, and be visible before you need something. Uh, One of our leaders talked about this book that he read. It was called Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty. And it's establishing these relationships that people are willing to work with you before you need them to work with you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Now, I'm gonna ask this one. You guys, you've spoken with numerous leaders. You must have learned some of their mistakes, especially during their first 90 days. What's one missteps that you've consistently observed that leaders make during their first 90 days?
I think, Bola, it's not having an intentional, well thought out plan for those first 90 days with a focus on setting tone through symbolic acts, building important relationships, and getting an intentional strategic win, not for you, but for either the organization or an important stakeholder group early. The other is kind of moving too fast, coming in kind of like a bull in a china shop, is what we call it, right? Going and um, uh, breaking eggs to make omelets. Um, I also think underestimating culture. So
Yeah.
changing the traditions like the donuts, right? Uh, those things, cultural traditions can spark resistance if you don't know.
Yeah.
Um, Firing or restructuring too soon without reading loyalties. We had one CEO who, in his first 30 days, he realized that one of his executives, he was not comfortable with them and decided to make a change. Now, he had permission from the board up front that he could make executive changes, but he did it so quickly and he did it without kind of the proper um, uh, letting the right people know that he was going to do it. And he didn't last but about 60 days after that
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
because he didn't realize that the person that he fired was one of the more popular people in the whole organization. Everybody knew this person and everybody loved them. Now, you can still get rid of them, but
Mhm.
you need to be intentional and you need to to really get your ducks in a row if if in fact they're that kind of popular.
Mm. Now, you guys, you've placed over 600 leaders to executive companies, right? What would you say gets someone shortlisted? What qualities are you looking for in candidate? Is it their resume? What are you guys looking for?
You know, first of all, we're dealing at the executive level,
Hmm.
Bola. Okay. Um, I think that your people who are staff or who are in the managerial or director can still get value from this, but I'm talking about at the executive level. We're looking for people who've done the job before, right? And been successful
Okay.
and and are able to articulate either on their resume or when we meet them, they're able to articulate what they've done, why they've done it, and how they've done it. Just the fact that it's been done is not, you need to be able to articulate how you did it. To make sure that it just didn't happen by osmosis, right? Um, we're looking for longevity, not 20-year longevity, but I got to tell you, if I get a CEO who moves about every 18 months or 2 years, I'm not interested. I'm interested in good 5 to 7 year stops at similar organizations to the one that is my client. Um, being visible, right? I'll give you an example. Um, I, I, I you need to you need to have an email address that I can get you today, I can get you tomorrow, I can get you a year from now, I can get you 20 years from now, right?
Okay.
Don't
Right.
be changing. You need to have a permanent email address and you need to have a permanent cell phone number and you need to and you need to keep them, right? Don't be changing emails every oh, that's another one. Take your age out of your email address. Like for me, my email address isn't Neil Marshall 1961 or 1980 or 1984. That's the
Right.
year I was born, the year I graduated from high school, the year I graduated. Every recruiter knows that, right? We look at that and go, well, you take that and take your dog out of your email address too. Have a professional, permanent email address so that we can always find you. Sorry, that's just a little pet peeve of mine.
That is
And
good.
then, and Bola, if I can add something I learned from my last assignment, that's just it's nearing completion. But when we were going through the resumes with the search committee, and I hadn't heard this in years, but they commented on this resume didn't have a cover letter, and I thought for a second, I thought, so, the resume is there, but the ones that they really were attracted to, everybody had equal qualifications. Everybody was almost on par in background, experience, knowledge. But the ones that took time to do a cover letter and said, your job description correlates with my resume by doing this, 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 and this. My achievements did this, 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 and this. So they didn't have to go through the points of the resume. They said, the person said, I meet your expectations by this experience in the past and how it correlates with the new job description. And I found that, I mean, I hadn't heard that in years, but the people that made the final cut are the ones that had the very nice descriptive cover letter that associated with their resume.
Oh, good.
And Bola, I know that this is not about the 90 days, but my pet peeve. So when we all graduated from college, they told us to make a resume and it needed to be one page, right?
That's right.
But if you've been working for 20 years, you don't need a one-page resume. If you can put everything you've done on one page, one of two things. Either you haven't done anything
Right.
or you're using 7-point font. And let me share something with you. Nobody wants to look at 7-point font. You need 12-point font. You need to expand it however long it needs to be now. It doesn't need to be 70 pages,
Mhm.
but 4 or 5 pages is not a big deal if you're at the executive level. But you certainly don't want you don't want you don't want somebody to have to get a magnifying glass. I was trying to show you a magnifying glass so that they can read your resume.
No, I like that.
Sorry, I transgress. I'm sorry.
It's good. I'm sure some people will find it useful. So now let's. I know you guys place executives, people in executive roles, right? But let's think about mid-level professionals. How can they prepare today for executive roles later? What do you tell them?
Well, I think preparing for executive roles, you need to be open. When there are opportunities, you need to go get them. Okay. If you're in a meeting with your boss and all your peers, and he says, "Hey, we've got this problem," jump up and say, I want that. I want to solve that problem," and then go solve it. Right. The other thing that I would say is if there are educational requirements that everybody has. So, for example, in hospital administration, everybody has either an MBA or a Master's of Health Administration. You are not going to get anywhere unless you've got the educational requirements. That's the first hurdle that they're going to throw up. So you need to make sure to do that. The last thing that I would say is everybody talks about giving 100% to their job. Here's
Mhm.
what I say. Don't give 100% to your job. You give 90% to your job and you give 10% to your career development.
Mm.
And in that 10%, you're doing things like relationship building, network building, thought leadership,
Mm.
speaking, being out there. You go to every meeting that you can that is relevant, right?
Right.
To build relationships. And in building relationships, you always want to find out what can I do for you?
Mhm.
digging your well before you're thirsty, right? If you've done something for them, they are more likely to do something for you later on.
Well, that's
And,
very good.
and Bill, I would add, I hate the word, not hate the word, excuse me, let me back up. Um, uh, Everybody talks about mentors, but I always talk about coaches. Have a coach that tell them what you're trying to do, why you're trying to advance, what areas you want to advance into, and have them coach you as you go along and ask questions of them and also be able to take the tough criticism during that time. But have a coach that understands what you're trying to do. And as Neill said, volunteer, and let the people that you work with know that you want to move up and you want to have additional assignments that can prove your worthiness, your intelligence, and your ability to do that job.
That's good. So on one hand, you guys you do candidate search. There's the other hand where professionals they should also find ways to reach out to such firms like you. So what do you recommend to working professionals in terms of how to build relationships with such firms? What
Yeah.
are the strategies? Yeah.
So so there's a couple ways, and a lot of it depends on where you are in the organization, right? But if I'm a young person and I'm starting out in my career, okay, I want to find out who are the movers and shakers in my business from a search standpoint. What are the companies that focus on my industry and a focus on my type of functional areas? And who are the people? And then build relationships with them. Okay. If you get a call look, I tell people all the time, it's not when I'm calling you that's a problem. It's when I stop calling you
Mm.
that's a problem. So I'll give you an example. I had one guy, he called me and his name looked familiar, and I looked him up, and I had called him 10 times over the last 10 years, and he had never returned a single call. And then he called me 4 times in the same day. Well, I knew that's a signal to me, right?
Yeah.
So I call him up and I'm like, what's the deal? I've called you 20 times in the last 10 years and you've never returned a call. Well, what's up? And he's like, well, I didn't need you then.
Uh,
Well, guess what? I
now,
don't have to say it, right? So when search people call you,
mhm.
you don't have to spend hours. Give them a call back, find out what they want, listen to what they're pitching. If you're not interested, demonstrate your industry knowledge um, by giving them recommendations.
Right.
And lastly, once you get to a point where you're a hiring authority,
Hmm.
you might pick the search people that you like the best and that you have the best relationship with, and have them help you. I will tell you that that's a great way to build a relationship with a search guy. I've had most of our clients were candidates for us before.
Wow. Wow.
And
So,
if I could add, Bola, um, if if you're trying for a job and you don't get it or you didn't make the cut, um, last couple of times I've had the candidates call me and say, "Do you have 10 minutes?" And I said, "Absolutely. We're very available." And I've known them because I've interviewed them. And they basically asked, how can I change my resume? What's different? How can I look better? How can I improve my visibility in the marketplace? And it's people like Health Search Partners that can help them. We mentor people as we go along. So again, as Neill said, when the time's right and they need you, let's be prepared. But they took it really like I didn't get the job, but how can I do to improve myself as opposed to I didn't get the job? How can I learn from this? And they always say, well, I guess I lost the job. And I said, no, you never lose anything. You don't lose, you learn. And a lot of these people that called back and said, can you give me feedback on my resume? Can you give me anything about what the search committee, which we can't really talk about, but I did give them feedback on, what their resume looked like, how could it be different, how could it be more succinct? And they were very good about it. So that's another way to establish a relationship. Show the search firm that you care. Do you want to move forward? Do you want to better yourself?
The
that's
the one thing that I will say though on that, and Kurt is 100% correct, but use that as a learning. Don't use it to try and overcome the objections,
hmm
right? Meaning, don't tell me once I'm giving you um, feedback,
Hmm.
don't start coming up with, don't try and overcome those objections. It's already gone. The ship's already sailed.
Right.
Okay. So use it as a learn. Don't try and sell me on why the client picked the wrong person.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we've been talking about the first 90 days and candidate placement and how candidates can rightfully position themselves. So I'm just wondering, if there's any next series for you guys, and if you care to tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, right now we're developing and have just put out a series on search committee interviews. Now, most of your folks probably won't be a part of that, but usually at the CEO level, they have to go in front of a search committee for the very first interview. And so we put a whole series together about the search committee interviews. And then one that's kind of near and dear to my heart because I have two children that are in the early parts of their career, right? And we're calling it kind of mentorship in the YouTube age. And I tell you where I got this idea was my son wanted to borrow my Suburban. He was going skiing, and I said, "Yep." And I also have chains, right? And I said, "Look, do you want me to show you how to put on the chains?" And he said, "No." Like, well, there's a trick to it. And he said, if I need it, I'll just YouTube it. And I thought about that, and the young people think that they can learn everything via YouTube. And so what we did is we interviewed a whole lot of people, both mentors and mentees, to find out, do you still need mentors today? Also, because of the fact that a lot of people work out of their homes now, and you don't get a lot of that organic mentorship that you used to get. And so we haven't published it yet, but spoiler alert, yes, you still do need mentors.
Right.
Okay. I had one guy tell me, he said, Neill, YouTube ain't never got me a job, but a mentor has.
Absolutely. And I do agree with that. And so with that, we have come to the end of this episode. Thank you, Neil and Kurt. I appreciate you guys coming on the show, and I'm sure my listeners they will find this episode beneficial. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Bola.
It's great being with you, Bola. Thank you.
All right.